Estás viendo Canal América, televisión dominicana para el mundo.
Sometimes life can be so damn hard. You don't know where to go. Everything keeps falling apart. Yeah. You try to do your best, but only God knows that you've given everything you've got, but the world takes you down. You just keep moving on. Let your fears.
Welcome to a Time for Truth show. It's my pleasure to have you back again with us, and I'm your host, Dr. Bernard Fialkoff. And today, we're going to be discussing something that occurred. And I think it's a good thing that it occurred because it has to do with survival, has to do with true joy and happiness, which is what we all really want, and avoiding chaos, avoiding bad situations, calamities. But you know, we're trying to survive, but to survive in a chaotic, immoral, and society that's really not under control can be very difficult. And your own happiness, your family's happiness, and those around you, and the countries, or your city, your town, are threatened by what? By thunderstorms, by hurricanes? No. By the immorality, insensitivity, inhumanity, and bad actions of a small percentage of those around us who hamper our survival. And sometimes it's very difficult because, you know, we're taught to be forgiving, and to be forgiven. And we're taught to, to extend ourselves and show humanity and respect for others. But sometimes that respect is abused. And that respect is not exchanged. And it's not honored. Sometimes, unfortunately, in society, someone who is kind, caring, and honest is looked at as a fool, or someone that's easy to take advantage of because he's going to stay quiet. He's not going to react to your malevolent intentions. So that is something very important to look at. And sometimes in society, when you have situations that occur, like a fire, to sit in a fire and watch it and not be concerned and have the building burn down would be incorrect. To have your ship or your boat heading towards the rocks and do absolutely nothing about it because the other shipmates, or if on your boat and you were relaxing and you left someone in charge and they're not watching, or they're being reckless and they're heading toward the rocks and they're going to crash the boat and you're all going to sink and drown. In those situations, being quiet is not the thing to do. And I know a story when once this ship was heading towards rocks and the captain woke up, came up on the deck and started yelling and screaming. But his yelling and screaming was to get the ship redirected away from the rocks. And why do I talk about this? Because sometimes the person who is trying to correct where the ship is going or where our society is going is the one who's reprimanded or looked at as someone who is out of character or not humane or too harsh or a violent person, my God. But in reality, what they're trying to do is keep the society from going on the rocks and keep things going in a way of integrity towards happiness so that the society can flourish and prosper. So as I told you, there was something that occurred the other night, and I want to show that right now on the show. And Buddha, if you can, let's please put the video on. It happened in the last few days.
Jada, I love you. G.I. Jane 2, can't wait to see it. All right? That was a nice one. Okay. I'm out here. Uh-oh, Richard. Oh, wow. Wow. Will Smith just smacked the out of me.
Keep my wife's name out your mouth.
Wow, dude.
Yes.
It was a G.I. Jane joke.
Keep my wife's name out your mouth.
I'm going to, okay?
So there you go. Should he have tolerated his wife being insulted, ridiculed? I don't think so. Was he angry? Yes. Would you not be angry if someone did that to your wife or to your husband or to your children? I remember one time someone that I know was in college and went for extra help, and the professor told him that he would never make it in professional school. And yet this person that I know went on and became a very highly successful doctor in his area with many awards and accolades, and treated many, many patients who he made very happy. So was it okay for that professor to just try to invalidate that person and possibly ruin that person's life? I don't think so. I think there are times where the right thing to do is to do something that's going to be noted, and to take a stand. It's not always easy to correct things. And when you're doing something that maybe the group doesn't like to go along with, you can get a lot of heat. You can be ostracized. You can be criticized. But what would you think of a man or woman who's seeing someone on the street dying walk right by? Is that okay? Is it not a problem? What would they want if they were that person on the street? Wouldn't they want someone to stop and help them to survive? And sometimes we look at humor and we say, well, in America, we have freedom of speech. So because we have freedom of speech, it's okay for us to say whatever we want. I don't think that our forefathers, George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, and all the Revolutionary War heroes who fought the English for freedom so that we could behave in a negative way with our freedoms. With freedom and with power comes responsibility. That's a big word, responsibility. It's easy to talk about responsibility, but it's very important to act on responsibility. Because when we actually act on being responsible, then the society, then our families, then the country, then the world goes in a correct direction. To disregard someone else's property or someone else's family or someone else's rights is incorrect, regardless of what religion, race, creed they are. We're all human beings and deserve respect. So what I want to do at this point is play a video for you on happiness, on something called the virtues of humanity, of being a human being, something we can aspire to. And these virtues are found in a book called The Way to Happiness by Mr. Hubbard. And it's a book that can be applied in any religion, in any creed, in any race, in any nationality, in any language, because it deals with survival, happiness and joy, qualities and directions that we all want to head in and we want to have in our lives. We don't want this war and threat of war between Ukraine and Russia. What positive benefit occurs from war, if you look at that, is none. Death, destruction, sorrow, the loss of your loved ones, of our loved ones, of anyone's loved ones. So let's take a look at this video and let's look at the virtues.
Try to treat others as you would want them to treat you. This is a positive version of the golden rule. Don't be surprised if someone seems to resent being told to be good. But the resentment may not come at all at the idea of being good. It may be because the person factually has a misunderstanding of what it means. One can get into a lot of conflicting opinions and confusions about what good behavior might be. One might never have grasped, even if the teacher did, why he or she was given the grade received for conduct. One might even have been given or assumed false data concerning it. Children should be seen and not heard. Being good means being inactive. However, there is a way to clear it all up to one's complete satisfaction. In all times and in most places, mankind has looked up to and revered certain values. They are called the virtues. They have been attributed to wise men, holy men, saints, and gods. They have made the difference between a barbarian and a cultured person, the difference between chaos and a decent society. It doesn't absolutely require a heavenly mandate, nor a tedious search through the thick tomes of the philosophers to discover what good is. A self-revelation can occur on the subject. It can be worked out by almost any person. If one were to think over how he or she would like to be treated by others, one would evolve the human virtues. Just figure out how you would want people to treat you. You would possibly, first of all, want to be treated justly. You wouldn't want people lying about you or falsely or harshly condemning you, right? You would probably want your friends and companions to be loyal. You would not want them to betray you. You could want to be treated with good sportsmanship, not hoodwinked nor tricked. You would want people to be fair in their dealings with you. You would want them to be honest with you and not cheat you, correct? You might want to be treated kindly and without cruelty. You would possibly want people to be considerate of your rights and feelings. When you were down, you might like others to be compassionate. Instead of blasting you, you would probably want others to exhibit self-control, right? If you had any defects or shortcomings, if you made a mistake, you might want people to be tolerant, not critical. Rather than concentrating on censure and punishment, you would prefer people were forgiving, correct? You might want people to be benevolent toward you, not mean nor stingy. Your possible desire would be for others to believe in you, not doubt you at every hand. You would probably prefer to be given respect, not insulted. Possibly, you would want others to be polite to you, and also treat you with dignity, right? You might like people to admire you. When you did something for them, you would possibly like people to appreciate you, correct? You would probably like others to be friendly toward you. From some, you might want love. And above all, you wouldn't want these people just pretending these things. You would want them to be quite real in their attitudes and to be acting with integrity. You could possibly think of others, and there are other precepts contained in this book, but above you would have worked out the summary of what are called the virtues. It requires no great stretch of imagination for one to recognize that if he were to be treated that way regularly by others around him, his life would exist on a pleasant level. And it is doubtful if one would build up much animosity toward those who treated him in this fashion. Now, there is an interesting phenomenon at work in human relations. When one person yells at another, the other has an impulse to yell back. One is treated pretty much the way he treats others. One actually sets an example of how he should be treated. A is mean to B, so B is mean to A. A is friendly to B, so B is friendly to A. I am sure you have seen this at work continually. George hates all women, so women tend to hate George. Carlos acts tough to everyone, so others tend to act tough toward Carlos. And if they don't dare out in the open, they privately may nurse a hidden impulse to act very tough indeed toward Carlos, if they ever get a chance. In the unreal world of fiction and the motion pictures, one sees polite villains with unbelievably efficient gangs and lone heroes who are outright bores. Life really isn't like that. Real villains are usually pretty crude people, and their henchmen cruder. Napoleon and Hitler were betrayed right and left by their own people. Real heroes are the quietest talking fellows you ever met, and they are very polite to their friends. When one is lucky enough to get to meet and talk to the men and women who are at the top of their professions, one is struck by an observation often made, that they are just about the nicest people you ever met. That is one of the reasons they are at the top. They try, most of them, to treat others well. And those around them respond and tend to treat them well and even forgive their few shortcomings. All right, one can work out for himself the human virtues just by recognizing how he himself would like to be treated. And from that, I think you will agree, one has settled any confusions as to what good conduct really is. It's a far cry from being inactive, sitting still with your hands in your lap and saying nothing. Being good can be a very active and powerful force. There is little joy to be found in gloomy, restrained solemnity. When some of old made it seem that to practice virtue required a grim and dismal sort of life, they tended to infer that all pleasure came from being wicked. Nothing could be further from the facts. Joy and pleasure do not come from immorality. Quite the reverse. Joy and pleasure arise only in honest hearts. The immoral lead unbelievably tragic lives filled with suffering and pain. The human virtues have little to do with gloominess. They are the bright face of life itself. Now, what do you suppose would happen if one were to try to treat those around him with justness, loyalty, good sportsmanship, fairness, honesty, kindness, consideration, compassion, self-control, tolerance, forgiveness, benevolence, belief, respect, politeness, dignity, admiration, friendliness, love, and did it with integrity. It might take a while, but don't you suppose that many others would then begin to try to treat one the same way? Even allowing for the occasional lapses. The news that startles one half out of his wits, the burglar one has to bop on the head, the nut who is driving slow in the fast lane when one is late for work. It should be fairly visible that one would lift oneself to a new plane of human relations. One's survival potential would be considerably raised. And certainly, one's life would be a happier one. One can influence the conduct of others around him. If one is not like that already, it can be made much easier by just picking one virtue a day and specializing in it for that day. Doing that, they would all eventually be in. Aside from personal benefit, one can take a hand, no matter how small, in beginning a new era for human relations. The pebble dropped in a pool can make ripples to the furthest shore. The way to happiness is made much brighter by applying the precept, try to treat others as you would want them to treat you.
So I hope you enjoyed that. So if we look at what happened the other night, you have to actually give Will credit. He defended his wife. He was not interested in how he looked or if anyone thought badly of him. He had his own code of honor. And I'm sure that he's gotten Chris to look at what he said and to evaluate whether or not any humor is okay, or that maybe certain types of humor shouldn't happen and shouldn't occur. When you really look at it, life has ups and downs. All of us at times get hurt, fall, get injured. The thing is to learn, not to stay there. The thing is to progress, not to go into a decline. To learn from previous wars and not repeat the same lunacy and cause more destruction. When you look at the fact of all we have in this world and compare it to what a caveman had, a Neanderthal man had, someone back in Mesopotamia when they had just ox carts. There were no cars. We didn't have to worry about how high gasoline was because there was no gasoline. There were no jets, no airplanes, no cell phones. We need to take a look at the rest of the people in the world who are starving and look at our morality for our mankind. And to start first within ourselves and our families. And not to criticize. It's very easy to criticize, but to learn and to help and empower. Sometimes there are those who would invalidate us and put us down, and they need to be handled directly. And I think that's something that Will did last night, and that I know that will have an effect on Chris, and probably it'll be something that he'll realize. And hopefully they'll talk. Because why? Because the greatest attribute that man has is the ability to forgive, the ability to understand, the ability to take on somebody else's viewpoint and realize why they did what they did and what occurred. So on this day, I urge you, look at the way to happiness. Look at your own conduct. Look at what you can improve. Look at how the community and family and your own family can improve. Let's bring about a happier world. Let's bring about all those things that we all want. And so we flourish and we prosper, which in the book, The Way to Happiness, is the ultimate handling to any negativity. Flourishing and prospering as an individual, as a family, as a group, as a city, as a country, as the earth. Thank you for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed this show. It was my pleasure to share this time with you.
Sometimes life can be so damn hard. You don't know where to go. Everything keeps falling apart. Yeah. You try to do your best, but only God knows that you've given everything you've got, but the world takes you down. You just keep moving on. Let your feet